Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the December 19th, 2022 meeting with the Farmington Zoning Board of Appeals. Would the secretary please read in the notice for the record?
John, I have it if you want it. We don't need to read it in because it's a continuation of the public hearing from the November 14th meeting.
Oh, I had forgotten that. So we may proceed. Believe we would proceed to hearing from the applicant. Ms. Rivera?
Hi, good evening.
Good
So
evening. Go ahead.
Jennifer, just state your name, address, and talk about the pool, the location, and the hardship.
All right, so I'm Jennifer Rivera. The address is 39 West Meath Lane, Unionville, Connecticut 06085. I received a notice in regards to the pool being located too close to fences and so on. At the time of the pool getting built, my husband completed the project. I really wasn't aware of such, whatever the pool was needed to be done. I just knew that it was there and that he completed the project. At this time, Mr. Sealander abandoned the home on August 27th. And I took on trying to figure out what needs to get done. But at this time, it's difficult to navigate this.
So, Carrie, do you mind if I help out Mr. Rivera a little?
No, Mr. Sealander, I'm missing something.
So the property is under Keith Sealander and Jennifer Rivera. They have split up. The letter had gone to both of them, and I had been working with Mr. Sealander. He's no longer involved, so now I'm dealing exclusively with Ms. Rivera.
That's what I gathered.
Yeah.
I wanted to be clear on that. And the pool's there.
The pool
Yes.
is actively there, yes.
So here's the pool location. So
The cost to make it
In progress.
up to code would be green.
So a little background for the commission members. So 39 Westmeath is a rear lot. It's located between Brightwood Road over here and Westmeath Lane, which comes off of Burlington Road. I'll pull up an aerial photo in a minute. The house is located back here. It's about 60 feet from the front property line, leaving only 48 feet at the closest point of the house. The pool has to comply to the standard side and rear yard setbacks for the zone, which in this case is 10 feet and 20 feet and 25 from the rear. On this side, on the north side of the property, there's a 20-foot sanitary sewer easement. So we're assuming that will be the 20-foot side. The house can't expand any closer to that easement. So we'll assume this is the 10-foot side. I'll just switch over to an aerial photo. It's a little hard to see. There's a deck off the back of the house, which is about, I think it's 6 or 8 feet wide, Jennifer?
Is 8.
8 feet wide. So that eats up some of that rear area. So what's shown in red is the allowable pool area. We've dealt with this with a few others of pools that, due to the regulations, kind of limited the rear yard area where the pool could be located. There's the deck here, there's a shed over here. So she's looking to locate it in this corner of the property.
Okay. Have the notices gone out?
Yes,
Yes.
Has there been any opposition to the application filed?
we've not received any notification, and I do not see any members of the public, but we can go through with the commissioner questions first, then see if anything anyone logs in.
Let's go through in the order in which we will ultimately do a roll call vote. And each member of the commission, including John Healy, who is participating in lieu of Sarah Nadeem, correct?
Correct.
If we go through the commissioners in order, and each will have an opportunity to ask questions.
All right, Commissioner Healy,
No questions.
Commissioner Walsh,
No questions.
Commissioner Schoenhorn,
I have a few.
And the first one is to staff. Since this was already in place, first of all, how did it come to the town's attention that this was in violation of zoning ordinances?
The office received a call about a location of the pool that they believed to be was too close to the property line. There's also no building permits pulled, so that's how staff would normally be notified of a pool being constructed. So we sent a letter just to get contact with the property owners at the time. So they responded. We told them that they had an option to apply for a variance given the layout of the lot, that it was a rear lot. The house was located farther back than was required, thus limiting the rear area. It took a little while, but we did get the application because there's some personal issues. But we did get the application for the variance, and that's how it came out. So if the ZBA approves the variance, then it would need to go to the building department for a building permit.
All right. And the no cease and desist order, I take it, was issued then?
It was a notice of violation for voluntary compliance. It was not a cease and desist.
Okay. All right. So in looking at the swimming pool regulations, there are a couple of them that apply. So other than the fact that the pool was already built, right? And I get that. So is there a reason it could not have been located at least behind the longest wall of the house, which is one of the requirements under zoning regulations related to the both above ground and in-ground swimming pools?
Yes. So the as I stated, there's an 8-foot deck off the back, and I did speak to the building department, and they recommended for an above ground pool, you need a minimum of 10 feet from the foundation for structural reasons. Addition that 2 feet from a deck is not necessarily the safest option, because it could easily, a child could either get from the deck right into the pool without fencing, because it's an above ground pool without a deck. So that's the reason why it had to be pushed farther back.
Right. So I understand the safety, the actual regulation has to do with a 10 or more feet from the foundation, not from an above ground deck, right?
It's both. There's the 10 foot for, again, this is the speaking to the building official, not necessarily the zoning regulations. I had asked them both from the safety, because if you have it right up against the house, aside from the foundation, there's the concern that even if it's a window, a small child can get from the window into the pool. So I don't know the requirement off the top of my head that distance that you need to be away, but it's recommended that it be placed farther away, so that would push it further towards the rear line. She's looking to have it here, given the small size of the rear lot of the backyard. I'm sorry.
All right. And again, I have less concern about the distance to the rear lot line, which is, it looks like we're talking about moving it to within, I guess, 15 feet. So looking for a 10-foot variance, more or less.
Mhm.
From the rear lot. If we go up to the next picture above
Yes.
that, please.
Yeah, so the pool's 15 feet from the rear and 10.5 from the, I'm sorry, 9.5 from the side, where 25 is required for the rear and 10 is required for the side.
Right. So my question is, let's for the moment, I understand the issue about being further away from the rear of the house. But my two concerns have to do with, one, why it needs to be 9.5 feet, why we would need two variances, why it could not have been at least, I think the side yard is 10 feet in an R20 zone, if I'm not mistaken, has to be at least 10 feet.
Yes, it's just for clarity, it's 10 and 20 for a total of 30. So one has to be a minimum of 10. The other one has to add up to 30, just as a clarification.
And when you say the other side, right?
Yes. So if you have
And that's
15,
60 something feet. So I'm not
Correct.
worried about that side, right?
right.
So my question has to do with the side variance. If we were only dealing, there seem to be three variances that are being suggested here. One is setback from the rear lot line from 25 to 15, right? That's the first. Correct?
Correct.
The second is the side yard setback from 10 to 9.5 feet, right?
Correct.
And the third is that the pool is not behind the house. In other words, it's not behind the longest edge of the house, although this diagram makes it look like it is.
No,
If I look
it's,
at the diagram, the plot plan that was presented, I may look at that again with the drawn in.
yes,
It's below, it's south of the house, correct? It's
yes. So the behind the longest rear wall of the house is just a parallel line to the rear of the house from property line to property line. It does not necessarily mean that it needs to be located behind the house. It just means it has to be located behind
Oh.
that parallel line that runs the width of the property.
all right. So there's just the 2 and not the 3.
Correct.
Violations or variances being. set.
Correct.
Okay. And where does it show on anything that was submitted, the size of the pool? I know that in your evaluation, you said it was 12 by 24, but where does it say it on anything that's been submitted?
What would you need for that? Like, and
That
Ms. Rivera, go ahead. That's, I guess. a
yeah,
question.
so what do you need for it to show the size? I mean, that's all I know. I don't have the box for it or anything.
Well, how do we know it's 12 by 24? We don't even have a picture of it.
Wasn't there someone here who actually measured all of this stuff?
Yeah, I measured it off of an aerial photo for a rough estimation without going out to the property the week, but I was for the that November meeting. And it was a rough estimation given the aerial photo and the property line setbacks.
And you say from an aerial photo, the one that was provided to us doesn't show the pool.
Yes, that's when I'm giving the zoning board of appeals aerial photos, I usually only use what's on the GIS website because that's a scaled photo that everyone can access. I have access to a separate site through the assessor's office, which has more updated aerial photos that don't necessarily scale for printing and inclusion of the agenda review, but I can do it on the site and take measurements.
Right. The regulations also state that dimensions must be verified. How is that done?
Can you repeat that, John? I'm sorry.
Yeah, the swimming pool installation regulations require that the dimensions be verified, that there be a certification of verification. How was that done in this case?
I believe that is done at the closing of the building permit when it's finally installed, that we verify that the location was correct as part of the zoning compliance as part of the building permit.
Right. And who is the builder here? I'm still not clear about that.
It was a kit pool, so it's not necessarily required that there be a pool contractor to construct it. It's just one of the ones that you can pick up at the store. It's not necessarily like she bought it from a pool contractor.
Is that
No.
what happened? Is that what
Yeah,
happened?
it was just bought through a website and it was put together by friends, you know?
All right. And where is the heater, or if there is one, the pump and the filter, where do they go in relation to this pool?
There's no heater, there's a pump and it's right next to it.
On this side,
On
Jennifer, or this
the-
side?
If you use the one that I provided, it's where it says 10 feet, it's located right there, right next to the pool. Yeah,
So between the pool and the house?
right.
I don't have any other questions. Thank you.
All right, Commissioner Llewellyn,
No questions.
Commissioner Cloud,
I'm all set. Thank you.
and Chairman Callahan.
Nothing further.
All right, and I will just look, and there is no one from the public present to speak for or against the application. So I'll leave it.
All right. Well, thank you. Then I won't go through the exercise of asking if there's anybody here who wishes to speak in opposition or further in favor of the applicant. Therefore, I believe that at this juncture, we can close the public portion of the hearing and go into our discussion among the commission members, correct?
Correct.
All right, public hearing is closed. Is there any discussion? I don't know that we, well, why don't we use the same order that we did? Well, withdrawn. Let me withdraw that. First, should we have a motion?
Garrett, if you want to better articulate it, but I'm happy to make the motion to approve.
It would be a motion to approve a variance for a side yard variance from 10 feet to 9.5 feet and a rear yard variance from 25 feet to 15 feet as presented.
So moved.
Seconded.
In order, discussion or question? Is there any further discussion? And again, Garrett, might we go in the same order as
Yes.
that in which you questioned?
Commissioner Healy,
I'm all set. Thank you.
Commissioner Walsh,
All set, thank you.
Commissioner Schoenhorn.
Well, there's obviously more going on here than has been presented at this hearing, and I feel a certain amount of sympathy for Ms. Rivera that's been stuck with this, but I'm a no because I don't think there's sufficient information that has been presented for the two variance requests. And I also don't actually see anything that shows the actual size of the pool, and to use it from aerial photographs to guesstimate, we don't know if it's actually going to be the distance that we're assuming it's going to be without a more proper plan. So I'm going to have to vote no, although I sympathize with Ms. Rivera.
Commissioner Llewellyn,
Comments?
Commissioner Cloud,
No comments.
and Chairman Callahan.
Nothing further from me, thank you. We have a motion and a second. We've concluded the public hearing. We've concluded discussions. Let's vote in the same order in which we have asked questions and offered comments.
All right, Commissioner Healy,
Aye.
Commissioner Walsh,
Aye.
Commissioner Schoenhorn,
No.
Commissioner Llewellyn,
Aye.
Commissioner Cloud,
Aye.
Commissioner Callahan, Chairman Callahan, I'm sorry.
Aye.
5 affirmative, 1 negative. The motion carries. The variance is approved.
Thank you. On the agenda. May I have a motion, please, with regard to approval of the minutes of the November 14, 2022 Zoning Board of Appeals meeting?
I will make that motion. I do note there's at least one typographical error that should be corrected at the bottom of page 2, the third line from the bottom. I think it says 14 stumps where measured. I think it should be were measured. And I think there was another, hold on. I just have one moment, please. And the second is a inquiry in the last, on page 3, the last sentence of the, before the vote, it says that it was also confirmed that the decision of the Town Plan and Zoning Commission is appealable through the Superior Court. If I recall, wasn't the question whether our decision that the ZBA decision was appealable through the Superior Court. I may be wrong, but that was my recollection. So I was wondering if that could be clarified before we vote on that.
We wouldn't be able to clarify it tonight. I'm not sure off the top of my head.
I mean, my
If-
recollection, Garrett, just is having been familiar with these statutes, is any vote by the Zoning Board of Appeals can be appealed to the Superior Court.
Yes, so I remember, I feel like I remember someone asking about the TPZ decision being appealable as well. We'd have to check the recording from that meeting. It may have been both. I do know that I mentioned to Mr. Wilson that the ZBA decision was appealable to the Superior Court. And I think I remember mentioning that the TPZ decision was appealable in court. I don't remember if we talked about both at the meeting or not, but we can check the recording from the last meeting.
I don't know if anyone else recalls, and I only note that this is a matter for which there's at least been opposition by the applicant, so, or by the respondent rather, and therefore I would want this to be correctly stated in the minutes in case it became an exhibit in a court matter.
Understood. We can verify, we can check the recording and hold off on approving the minutes till the January meeting if we have any applications, or it'll be the
Why
next
don't we
meeting.
do that? And I for one do not recall that part of the discussion at that point of the meeting. So it may be best to verify and put the approval on the minutes of the next meeting, which will be after the new year.
So I will make my motion then to table the approval of the minutes until the next meeting.
Second,
Can we do a roll call vote or,
all in favor, I think is.
all right,
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Sounds to me unanimous. Any opposed? May we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, everyone. Have a great holiday season. We'll see you after the first of the year.